So here's what we're going to be talking about today. The law of syllogisms is a logic statement that is based off the transitive property. If any of you know what the transitive property is. And you're going to be able to determine if they're true and reorder the law of syllogisms. Now, the law of syllogisms can be kind of fun. I used to do a project with the law of syllogisms before the new curriculum. And you can make anything seem true, essentially, is what it is. So, like, Ben, do you play basketball? So we could say, if Ben plays basketball, then he is tall. If you are tall, then you can reach the top shelf, right? So the conclusion would be Ben can reach the top shelf because he's tall, right? So because the conclusion of the first and the hypothesis of the second are the same, you can connect the hypothesis and conclusion of those first two statements. And that's what we're going to be looking at today. So it's all words, again, today. I mean, you kind of have to know some stuff with numbers, but not really. But it's just making some fun sentences in a sense in that way. So deductive reasoning uses definitions and facts and accepted properties and the laws of logic to form logical arguments, which is what the law of syllogism is. It's deductive reasoning. It is a logic statement. So you're using logic to form your conclusions. Now, just because it's logic to form your conclusions doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be logical every single time. You can make funny things happen. And then we already learned inductive reasoning. That's what you guys used to make conjectures the other day. And inductive reasoning uses specific examples and patterns. So when you guys were making those conjectures the other day, that was inductive reasoning. What would you need?
A review?
How many do you need?
Just one.
I have two there. They got stuff together.
Perfect.
There you go.
Sorry for the interruption.
That's okay. What?
When's the construction portfolio?
Done. It's going to be due at the end of Unit 1, Part 3. So we're in Unit 1, Part 2 right now. And you won't learn the last couple constructions until Part 3. So just work through the ones you can get done right now, which is like the first 3 or 4 you can do right now. All right. So here's how the law of syllogisms work. If hypothesis P, then conclusion Q. So that would be like, if Ben plays basketball, then he is tall. If you are tall, then you can reach the top shelf. So if these two things, the hypothesis or conclusion Q and hypothesis Q are the same, so being tall, then you can connect the hypothesis of the first and the conclusion of the second. So if these two are the same, then you can connect the hypothesis of the first and the conclusion of the second to form a conclusion. So you can connect the hypothesis of the first and the conclusion of the second if the first conclusion and the second hypothesis are the same. So that's it. I really need to buy a new stylus tonight. It's been breaking up. Once you have that written down, and if you have any questions for me, please ask, but you can flip to the next slide if you do not. While you're waiting to take out some different colors, because not the next slide, but the slide after, we're going to use it. So if you have lots of different colors, take them out, and you can share with the people around you if you would like to, if they let you. Like pens, highlighters, whatever it is. It doesn't matter which one. We don't need it on the next slide, but we will on the slide after that. All right, so we're going to determine if the following statements are true or not based on the law of syllogisms. You're not determining if they're true or not based on fact. You're determining if they're true or not based on the law of syllogisms. And the law of syllogism says that the conclusion of the first and the hypothesis of the second must be the same to connect the hypothesis of the first and the conclusion of the second. Okay? So you need to connect those two things. So if a figure is a square, then it is a polygon. Polygons have straight sides. So notice our middle two pieces are the same. So we should be able to make a conclusion off of that. And their conclusion was that triangle is a polygon. Is that the conclusion you can make based off of this law of syllogisms? Well, what did you just say? Does it even talk about a triangle in this? So why are they even using the word triangle, right? So can they make that conclusion based off of this law of syllogisms? No, so this is false, and your reason is the actual conclusion would be what? What is the actual conclusion that can be made? Who knows what the actual conclusion that could be made is? Tucker?
If a figure is a square, then it has straight sides.
Notice that the first part here is if a figure is a square, and this last part here is it has straight sides. So those are the two pieces you can connect. So if a figure is a square, then it has straight sides. So look at that and see what questions you have for me, where that came from or anything like that. Next one there says is if you get money, then you will, or if you get a job, you will earn money. If you earn money, then you will buy a car. So notice again that these two pieces are the same. So is the conclusion if you get a job, then you will buy a car? Is that valid based on the law of syllogisms? Brandon? Yeah. The first part here is if you get a job, so that goes there, then you will buy a car. Then you will buy a car is there, and those two should connect because it's the hypothesis of the first to the conclusion of the second. So that is true. So look at them and see what questions you guys have for me. And make sure you got those colors out ready to go for the next slide. All right, so here's the next one. So we're going to reorder this based on the law of syllogism. So this is how I do this. I use many different colors, so you guys have different colors out. If you don't have a lot of different colors, you can use different shapes and types of underlining and stuff. That works too. But I look for words that connect. Because, remember, with the law of syllogisms, your conclusion has to connect to the next hypothesis, right? So that's what we're going to do here. The law of syllogism doesn't have to just be 2 lines. It could be a lot of lines. When I used to do the law of syllogism project, they had to do like 15 to 20 lines, I think it was. So it can be a lot of lines that connect. The biggest thing is that the conclusion of the one above it needs to be the hypothesis of the next statement. So what you're looking for there is words that match. So do you see how mathematics is the first word here? Do you see the word mathematics in any of these lines here? Sophia, where? So I'm going to highlight mathematics in both of those in the same color, or use the same underlining, or use the same, whatever you want to do, same shape around them. But that will help you see when we go to reorder that. So I'm going to pick a different color now. And I'm going to try to find another word. So give me 2 words that you see. Somebody give me 2 words that you see that are the same in the hypothesis and a conclusion. Melinda? Money. Money is in the second one, and where else is it? The last one. So it's the hypothesis of the second one and the conclusion of the last one. Ayana, give me another one that you see 2 words that are the same.
Oh, wait, me?
Yeah.
Numbers.
Okay, where do you see numbers?
The first and the last. The end of the first and the beginning.
Yeah, conclusion of the first, hypothesis of the last. Paige, you want to give me another one that has the same ones? Yeah, we see free stuff in the third one and the fourth one. Landon, what's the other one you see there? Yeah, Landon.
Orpha.
Oprah. So Oprah is the end of the second and the first of the fourth one. So once you only have one hypothesis and one conclusion not highlighted, so you can see our hypothesis only has one that's not highlighted and one conclusion that's not highlighted, then you know you've connected all the pieces, okay? So you start with the hypothesis that is not highlighted because it doesn't have anything before it to base itself off of. So our first line is going to be this one here. The conclusion will be the last one that is not highlighted because it has nothing to connect to after that. So free stuff is awesome should be our last line. So we're going to start with geometry is a field of mathematics. And I'm going to simplify some of the words. So geo is a field of math is our first line. And we said math was highlighted in orange for me. So what line should connect with that in the next sentence? What line should connect with that in the next sentence there? What should be the next sentence? Go ahead, Cameron. We use this one. Yep. So math is often associated with numbers. Numbers was in that pink. Dylan, do you have a question? So I've used that line, so I don't need to use that line again. What would be my next line? What would be my next line then, Sophia? Numbers can be found on money. Cameron? Money can be found in the bank account of Oprah. Whenever I see the word Oprah, I just can't stop thinking of the meme that... Have you ever seen the memes that... Because she gave away cars, so you get a car, so it's whatever you get. You've never seen those memes, or the GIFs, or GIFs, or however you say it? At least you've seen them. Good. Not a crazy person. All right. What is the next line there, Corey?
Oprah gives away free stuff.
So we're almost done. You have to use all of the lines. We're almost there. So what is my last line there? What would my last line be there, Cole? Free stuff is awesome. So what conclusion can be made then based off of this statement? What conclusion can be made based off of this statement here? Who knows the conclusion that can be made? What is the conclusion that can be made? Think about what the law of syllogisms is doing here. Who knows what the conclusion is? Tucker?
Or not, no.
It doesn't have to be.
The geometry is awesome.
Yep. So you can connect the hypothesis of the first with the conclusion of the second, which is saying geometry is awesome. So that's what my kids used to do, like with their projects. They used to have to do like 15 lines of this, but come up with some sort of a conclusion like that. So you can make things like not make sense at all. You could prove that the sky is green if you wanted to, or the grass is blue based off of the law of syllogisms. All right, so see if you have any questions on how to do that. See if that makes sense to you. On your quizzes and tests, you can use different colors. I really do not care at all. Alana? You take the hypothesis of the first, and you can connect it to the conclusion of the last, because this is all connected throughout the middle. So that's just like the transitive property is what the law of syllogisms is. Tucker?
So can we just find the things that aren't highlighted and not all that aren't?
Yeah, unless it asks you to physically rewrite it, yes. Mm-hmm. Some people will need to have it rewritten to see it, though. It depends on where you're at. Just like anything, just like in algebra, like some people need to show more work than others. It just depends where you're at. Mm-hmm. All right, so what is the conclusion based on the law of syllogisms? And it has to be valid based on the law of syllogisms. So remember, the law of syllogism has to have the last conclusion, or the first conclusion has to link with the last hypothesis to be able to conform it. So this says, if a quadrilateral is a square, then it has 4 right angles. If a quadrilateral has 4 right angles, then it is a rectangle. What is the conclusion that can be formed there? What is the conclusion that can be formed there? What's my conclusion? If a quadrilateral is a square, then it is a rectangle, or a square is a rectangle. I would accept both of those. Good job, Madison. Okay, this one says, if Jerry wins the lottery, then Jerry will be rich. If Jerry wins the lottery, then Jerry will travel. Is that valid based on the law of syllogisms? No, because the law of syllogisms would have had to have Jerry winning the lottery in the conclusion here, right? It's not linked conclusion to hypothesis. Do you guys see how this one is hypothesis to hypothesis, not conclusion to hypothesis? So you would just write invalid. All right. And that is the notes for